Hello. This video acts as a high-level explainer to our Part 1 External Device Control example video. This video is not going to be a deep dive into the configuration process, as that is covered in detail in several other videos on the OmnIoT Videos YouTube channel. But we will take a brief look at the complete rule set and all the objects that were required to implement our example scenario. If you don't have a basic understanding of how the SoftHub works, you may want to check out some of our introductory videos before proceeding. We've opened the actual configuration file used in the example video in the SoftHub Configuration Utility. We'll very quickly go through the rule set logic first, and then go through the objects used to build the rule set. Note that we've also provided a link in the video description where you can download all the files used in the original video. We have 5 events we're monitoring for: the system startup and shutdown events, as well as a new packet event that will be queued every time we receive a new packet from our BLE sensor, and lastly 2 events that will be queued when we receive a message from our dashboard to either disable or re-enable threshold processing. Looking at the startup event, we can see we have one rule to be evaluated. When executed, this rule will turn off our GPIO and initialize 2 state flags. One flag is to keep track of whether our GPIO is currently on, and the other will keep track of whether threshold monitoring is currently enabled. On the shutdown event, we have only a single rule that when executed will turn off the GPIO before the SoftHub exits. Every time a new sensor packet arrives, we'll evaluate 3 rules. The first is unconditional and will always send our new updated light reading to the Cayenne dashboard. The second rule will only be executed if our light reading is below our threshold and our GPIO is currently off and threshold processing is currently enabled. If that conditional logic is met, we'll turn the GPIO on and update our GPIO on flag to true. Our third rule is again conditional and will only be executed if the GPIO is currently on and the new light reading is not below our threshold. If so, we'll turn the GPIO off and update our GPIO on flag to false. When we receive a message from the remote dashboard to disable threshold processing, we'll evaluate 2 rules. The first is unconditional and simply updates our threshold processing enable flag to false. The second rule will only be executed if the GPIO is currently on. In that case, we'll turn off our GPIO and set the GPIO on flag accordingly. Lastly, when we receive a message from the remote dashboard to re-enable threshold processing, we'll again evaluate 2 rules. The first is unconditional and simply updates our threshold processing enable flag to true. The second is only executed if our most recent light reading value is below our threshold and the GPIO is off. In that case, we'll turn on the GPIO and again set our GPIO on flag to true. That summarizes the entire core logic used to build our example. Now we'll go through the individual objects we used to build our rule set. But first, in the global settings, we've left the Auto Start All Sensors flag as true so that our sensor will be automatically connected and configured on startup. We then define the output GPIO pin, pin 17, we're using to drive the external power switch. Next, we chose our sensor from the drop-down list of supported sensors and enabled the light sensor for notifications. The action objects used fall into 3 categories. One set, consisting of 6 individual objects, was used to create, initialize, and clear and set our GPIO on and threshold processing enable flags. The next set consists of 2 objects that actually turn our GPIO pin on and off. And lastly was the action object to publish our light data to our target MQTT broker, which in this case was our Cayenne dashboard. Looking at our state objects, they again fall into 2 categories. 3 of the state objects were for checking the value of our GPIO on and threshold processing enable flags. And our last state object was used to check whether the most recent light value received is at or below our threshold value. That completes our brief tour of all the objects and rules required for our example. Again, see the video description to download all the files used in the example video, as well as for links to our YouTube channel, OmnIoT Videos, where you can find many in-depth videos covering the full configuration process, as well as many other examples highlighting other SoftHub features and capabilities. Thanks for watching.